Okay, welcome. Thank you everybody for coming. This is the Site 80 HSW4 40% construction community meeting. So what that means is you'll be getting a construction update on the high school that's going to be built in the Dr. Phillips area starting in 2021. My name is Lauren Roth. I'm with Facilities, and all of the pictures you see at the top are panelists. They're OCPS people or involved with the project and will be able to answer questions later. I just want to give you a few notes about how WebEx works, and then we can get started. So I just want to thank you for joining us virtually on the WebEx platform. Attendees are automatically muted with cameras off so that we don't have, background noise issues. So please do find your Q&A box. It's for some people, it'll show up as 3 little dots under more options, because that's where you can ask questions. We also have the chat box open if you'd like to be able to talk to each other. If you have technical issues, please do call WebEx support. I've put their phone number in the chat window. Let me also give it to you if you can't see that. It's 1-866-229-3239. Again, that is 1-866-229-3239. That's just if you have technical issues that you can't resolve, and they can help you with that. This presentation you're about to see has already been posted at facilities.ocps.net. It can also be found on the school board member web pages of both Linda Cobert and Pam Gould. This is a unique facility in that it's being built in District 4, but it has a lot of effects on District 3. So we do have both board members here. Linda, do you want to do a welcome?
Hi, and welcome everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay, I'm getting a little feedback. Anyway, I just want to welcome everybody. I'm very excited to see the progress. The building is coming along beautifully. You'll get to meet your new principal and Guy Swenson tonight. And without further ado, let's turn it over to our experts so we can take a look at the progress. Thanks, Lauren.
Okay, so what I'd like to do at this point is just introduce the panelists who are here tonight, and we might have more people join us as the evening goes on, who are experts in their particular areas. So as I mentioned, we do have board member Linda Cobert and Pam Gould, both here. From this particular project, we have the principal, Guy Swenson. Cheryl Neely, the principal of Freedom High School, is here, and I think Suzanne Knight from Dr. Phillips might also be dropping by. From the high school division, we have Tim Smith. Dr. Smith is here. So the architect for this project is Schenkel Schultz, and from Schenkel Schultz tonight, we have David Torbert and Lynn Lefebvre. They're here. The civil engineer on this project is Jay Klima with Klima Weeks. The construction manager for this project is Pirtle, and from Pirtle we have Richard Rodriguez, Freddie Torres, and Jason Krasunas. From OCPS, we have myself, we have Stephen Thorpe from Planning, we have Carol McGowan, who is our student enrollment person, and I've already seen we've gotten some student enrollment questions coming in. I know that we already have somebody on from Fire Health and Safety, Richard Kirkham. I'm hoping that we're going to have someone from transportation hop on also. And we did invite some local representatives from Orange County government. So if I see them hop on, I will introduce them later. So Freddie, I'll take that next slide when you have a moment. Okay. And Carol, if there's anything you wanted to add to this, please let me know. This is definitely your area, but I was just going to give people a brief overview of the rezoning process to let them know that that there were maps that have been put together for the zoning of actually this high school and the other new high school that are set to open in 2021. You can find those on the student enrollment page, on the OCPS student enrollment page. The hearings were held in the spring, but they're going to be held again, the community meeting in September 2020, just to make sure that everyone's had a chance to see them and comment on them. And then those will go ahead to a rural development workshop in September and a public hearing in October. So I think that's it for me. So let me hand things over to David Torbert for an overview of the architecture of this project before we talk about the construction.
Actually, I think, isn't Guy going to speak a little bit here?
Sorry, Guy. Yep, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Are you able to hear me at this point?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. My name is Guy Swenson. I am very proud to have been selected as the principal of this great school. And what I really want to just talk about today is the number one question that I get when I talk to people about the school, which is, what is the name? And we don't have a name yet. And that's what we're going to kick off tonight is our school naming survey. Just to give you a brief overview of how the naming process works. We first survey students, parents, guardians, community members, staff members to potential names. We collect them through the survey on the link that you see on the presentation tonight. And then we form a committee. The committee then takes the top names, about 3 to 5 of them, to choose to send out to yet another survey to the community to then rank the top 3 names to be given to the superintendent. And the superintendent brings those names to the board, and then the board votes on the name. That will happen sometime later in the year. But right now, we just want to start surveying the community, getting all the name ideas that you have. We do ask that you consider local geographic features and historical areas near the school. The property of the school actually is where an old settlement used to be. It's called Vineland Settlement. And you can look on Wikipedia, there's an entire page about Vineland. And then there's also other towns and incorporated areas around the property, such as Bay Lake and Reedy Creek and Buena Vista, and there's also Sand Lake and Lake Willis and Ruby Lake. So there's all kinds of features around that could be great names. Or I'm really hoping as well that the community will suggest other names that we haven't even thought of. So my last part on there is that we have started a small website that has some basic information for the school. Please go to that website, and that's where you can learn more about me, our staff, which has a school secretary and an assistant principal at this point. And we also have a way for you to follow us on social media. So please do follow us because that's how you can stay in touch on whatever social media platform you like. And please take a moment and fill out the naming survey, give a suggestion. And I just want to thank everyone that's here. This shows how interested you are in our school and creating a great school. So just thank you so much, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Guy.
So good evening, everyone. I'm Dave Torbert with Schenkel Schultz, as Lauren said, and I want to walk you through several slides here that kind of describe to you, sort of give you an overview of the new high school that's going to be built when it's completed. For those of you all who've been to previous community meetings, you'll probably recognize a lot of this information and a lot of these slides. The first slide is just kind of gives you an overview of the overall area and some context of where the new school site is. You can see on the slide up at the top, highlighted with a blue dot, is the existing Dr. Phillips High School. Towards the right-hand side of the map, you see highlighted with another blue dot, Freedom High School. And then towards the lower left-hand corner, you can see the red dot that highlights where this new high school is going to be located. Kind of nestled in there between Apopka Vineland Road and I-4, right along a new connector road that the county is constructing right in front of our property. So if we go to the next slide, a little closer in look at the surrounding context, you can see again highlighted in red there the approximately 50-acre site where the new high school is being built. You can see the new connector road highlighted in blue there, the new Darrell Carter Parkway. And you can see Fenton Road just to the north of the site, as well as Dr. Phillips Community Park there just to the north of the high school site. The site's located just almost right across the street from the Park Soleil resort that you see noted there on the slide. So if we go into the next slide, we can take a little closer look at the overall site plan. Before we get into the site plan, in the lower left-hand corner, you'll see some information about the school. The school is designed to house 2,776 student stations, has parking on site for 770 parking spaces, and provides on-site car stacking of up to 300 cars, as well as on-site bus stacking of up to 60 buses. So if we look at the site plan, you'll see along the bottom is that new Darrell Carter Parkway road that is being constructed by the county, and the high school sits just right north of that. Now, right off of Darrell Carter Parkway, there are three vehicle entrances into the site. Starting on the western end at the bus loop, there's what's referred to as a right in and right out only entrance. What that means is that at that entrance, you can only enter the site by making a right-hand turn off of Darrell Carter, and when you exit, you can only make a right-hand turn onto Darrell Carter Parkway. The middle entrance is kind of the main entrance of the school, if you will, which is where the students for their parking as well as the parent drop-off will occur. That is a full access point. You can make left and right-hand turns, and there is a signal at that intersection with Darrell Carter Parkway. The last entrance down in the very southeastern corner of the site is a right in only. And what that means is that people can only make the right turn into the site from that location. It is not an exit. So that gives you kind of an idea of the access points, vehicle access points for the campus. In terms of the parking, on the right-hand side of the site, you see the student parking area. And you'll notice in the student parking area, you'll see a bunch of red arrows that kind of weave their way through the parking lot and create kind of a conga line, if you will, of stacking. That's how the 300 cars of stacking is provided on the campus. The other parking area is over on the left-hand side of the site. It's where the bus loop is, and inside of that bus loop is where the staff parking area is located. Of course, you have the new campus buildings that are highlighted there with kind of the burnt red color. And you'll notice there that there is a bright red star right there, right below the administration building. That is the main entry of the campus. And it's important to note that that main entry is the only way that visitors to the campus will be able to enter the school during the school day. The buildings are organized around a secure courtyard, and you'll see that there are other gaps between the buildings in that courtyard, but those gaps are secured with fences and with gates and doors, so that during the normal school day, those gaps are secured so that there can be no entry in those gaps. The only entry will happen right there at the main front door. So if you look at the buildings working around the campus in clockwise fashion from the main administration building, you see in the center there, you have the music and the auditorium, the front door of the auditorium facing towards the staff parking area. You have the cafeteria just north of that. You have a 3-story academic building along the northern edge of the courtyard. And then on the other end of the campus, you have the gymnasium and lockers and the media center there going back all the way back around to the admin. North of the building, you have the athletic fields and courts, including a softball and baseball field, 4 outdoor tennis courts, a couple of outdoor basketball courts, a couple of practice field areas, and then, of course, the stadium and track area that has a total of about 1,250 seating, about 1,000 on the home side and about 250 seats on the visitor side, as well as the field house that has the locker rooms, restrooms, concession stand, and those kinds of elements as well. Last thing I'll point out on the site plan is you'll see a series of yellow dashed lines. Those represent the secure fencing lines, and you can see that back portion of the campus. The back portion of the campus is secured, of course, with the athletic fields. And again, of course, just to reiterate, that courtyard area of the campus is also secured with secure lines and gates and doors. So if you go to the next slide, if you've been to the previous community meetings, you know that we've talked about that this is a prototype high school. And that it is the latest in a long line of prototype high schools that Orange County Public Schools has built, and you can see kind of the complete list here going all the way back to Olympia High School. Now, just because it's a prototype high school, it doesn't mean that we're designing or building the same thing today that we did almost 20 years ago, actually over 20 years ago, when we designed Olympia High School. Quite the contrary, OCPS has routinely and regularly, every iteration of the prototype, the design gets upgraded and enhanced and infused with the current technology, current safety and security issues, all of those features. And so if we take a look at the next slide, you can see what some of the current upgrades include in this most recent school that's being constructed right now. From an educational standpoint, there are 21st century collaborative learning hubs that are infused into the academic area. Technology is really up to date and very current, interactive touchscreens and smart TVs throughout the campus. Wi-Fi will be ubiquitous throughout this campus. It will be everywhere inside that, even in the courtyard. Highly energy efficient. OCPS is committed to that, not only from a code requirement standpoint, but also from an operational standpoint. Makes good sense on taxpayer dollars to have very energy efficient buildings. And then last but not least, certainly and unfortunately in today's world, safety and security seems to be becoming a more and more important thing. This new campus will have a full complement of security access control and cameras for the school, a two-way emergency radio system, voice evacuation fire alarm, and a permanent generator and life safety lighting. Those are just some of the safety and security features that will be incorporated into this new high school. So the next series of slides are intended to give you an idea of what the finished product will look like. So this is a sort of a bird's eye view. So if you were floating in a helicopter out on that Darrell Carter Parkway looking to the north towards the school, you might see a view similar to this. You can see that tower element kind of left of center in there. That's that main front door, that red star on the site plan that we talked about earlier. To the left of that, you'll see the music, and you can see the high volume of the auditorium building kind of off in the distance. In the foreground, you'll see the media center and the gymnasium. And you'll note that the public entrance to the gymnasium, to the media center, and we'll see in just a minute to the auditorium are all on the public side that really enhance the ability to have those public after hours events, whether they're a game in the gym or a performance in the auditorium, without having to open up the entire campus, and really provides a layer of safety and security within the overall campus. In the background there, you can see that 3-story academic building that we mentioned. And then off in the very far corner there is the cafeteria and the outdoor eating area that's a part of that overall program. So we go to the next slide. The next series of slides are a little closer and look at some of the elements. This first one is a little closer look at that front door area there. You can see that entry tower there, the auditorium kind of in the background. The next slide kind of comes around the corner of the campus, and this is the front door of the auditorium that faces that staff parking area. So you can see a very prominent public entry there for after hours events. The next slide goes down to the other end of the campus and shows kind of that public entryway or entry element for the new gymnasium, again, for that ease of after hours entry for games and events that happen in the gymnasium. Unfortunately, because of security protocols, we can't share with you a detailed floor plan of the overall campus, just this kind of block diagram. Again, you can see the major elements, the admin, music, auditorium, the cafeteria, media, gymnasium, locker rooms, and the classroom buildings around that secure courtyard. If I could show you a more detailed floor plan, what you would see, particularly in that classroom academic building where all the classrooms and labs are located, you'd see that the new campus is going to have 75 classrooms, 9 vocational programs, CTE programs like culinary arts. It's going to have 8 skills labs, 16 science labs, and 3 art labs are all within that classroom building. In addition, you'd be able to see that the auditorium is going to be able to seat 852 people. You'd be able to see that the gymnasium can seat just over 1,800 folks. And so you'd see that there's quite a large array of amenities and features that are incorporated in this overall plan. So if we go to the next series of slides, here's hopefully where a picture will speak 1,000 words and give you some idea of what some of the finished spaces will look like. These images are from previous prototypes, and so they'll give you an image, a flavor of what the new spaces will look like. But as the principal talked about earlier, the name hasn't been picked, the school colors haven't been picked. So the final images for this new school will look a little different from those aspects, because certainly we want to try and infuse the spirit colors and those kinds of things into the final campus once it's finished. But in terms of the overall program, you can see listed there many of the spaces, and on the right-hand side of the slide, you can see examples of what the computer labs, for example, or the science labs will look like in this new school. It's comprised of just over 350,000 square feet. Places like the amenities like the new auditorium, the new gymnasium that you can see located there. If we go to the next slide. Some of the outdoor amenities, again, outdoor greenhouse and shade house. It will have the football field and stadium like is depicted here in the image. If we go to the next, outdoor play fields, softball, baseball, outdoor courts. Again, just to reiterate on safety and security, the secure courtyard design, the single secure entry point, and the security systems, card readers, all of those are elements that will be in this school. Educational technology, the image here kind of gives you an image of a typical classroom that includes a 70-inch touchscreen smart monitor on the teaching wall. We'll have an audio enhancement system, which is a sound reinforcement system that really allows the teachers to be heard more clearly by the students and enhances the educational process. And then, of course, the Wi-Fi connectivity that will be throughout the every space in this campus. In terms of sustainability, OCPS has always been committed to sustainability. I'm not going to go through every one of these items. They're just some of the examples of some of the sustainable features that will be built into this new campus. OCPS is committed to that. Again, it's just being good stewards of the taxpayer dollars in terms of what they design and construct. So I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to Richard Rodriguez and his team from Pirtle Construction, and they're going to tell you a little bit about what's going on from a construction standpoint.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Pirtle Construction is really proud to be part of the team working alongside Schenkel Schultz for OCPS to bring this exciting project to this community. We've been working with OCPS for a number of years and are happy to do this again. Love to share the progress that we've made to date. With me today, I bring Jason Krasunas, our Senior Project Manager, and Freddie Torres, our on-site project manager. Freddie?
All right, good afternoon. I will, much like David, discuss the design kind of from a global scale down to a more specific one. I'm roughly going to be doing the same thing, but on the construction side of things. So just speaking in general terms of some of the things with the project, we have work hours on site roughly from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Currently, our deliveries are all being handled through Fenton Road, which is actually opposite of the new connector road that's being completed right now. This actually helps out a lot with the construction and avoiding any impact to the community. As for one good example of just what we had to do for the project thus far, we had to bring the elevation up quite a bit, and in doing so, we had to bring in 350,000 cubic yards of fill, which amounts to roughly 22,000 trucks in and out of the project site. We do work very closely with the local law enforcement as well as the community, making sure we're not impacting them, doing things such as early morning pour notices and so forth. Just looking at the project site from a construction standpoint, again, I was kind of pointing out that our construction entrance is actually to the north of the project, where at the end of the day, for the permanent, as David pointed out, all the entrances will be off the south side and off of that new Darrell Carter Parkway Extension connector road. We are trying to utilize the kind of parking areas that will be in the end by having the construction lay down in our offices, and you'll see some of the detail in this in some of the aerials that we'll show here in a little bit on the west side of the project, and then utilizing the east parking area for the majority of our construction parking and some additional laydown. This is a real general overview of the project schedule, starting from back in April with the design, bidding, and permitting process, moving into the early site package when we started clearing the area and preparing for the main construction. By roughly in January, we had started the structural components and also sealing in the project. And here, this dashed red line kind of signifies the current status of the current spot that we're in the project, roughly 40% in. And it's not an exact division, but roughly it ends up being basically transitioning from the construction side and, the structural and sealing into the project, drying in, to the more the finishes and completion of the project. And we're currently on schedule to be finishing and wrapping up in the summer of 2021. Here's some of the kind of specific items for the project. As I mentioned, the notice to proceed started in September 2019 when we kind of moved into the site clearing and portion of the project. Tilt wall panels, which are the basically all the walls of the building, we started and completed this past May. And you'll see a lot of this in some of the aerials that are going to be coming up here in a little bit, and some detailed pictures as well. The structural steel as well that ties in all those walls and holds everything together was completed just a couple months ago in July. And our roofing is just about complete. We've got the auditorium actually remaining to do, so about 95% complete with that. And some of the other components, such as fireproofing, which goes on in the classrooms and is an additional layer of protection for any kind of fires that would go on. That's been completed in the classroom buildings, and we, like I said, have started in pretty much all the buildings, with the exception of the auditorium building, with our interior framing and some of the finishes. And again, just to reiterate, we are on schedule to substantially complete in the summer of 2021. So here, our first aerial. This is as we were just starting and establishing some of the property lines. This is the project before everything was cleared back in September. Just to the south of the project, these slides are kind of a little bit backwards from the normal orientation, but is the Soleil project. I-4 is just to the top of the picture here. And you can see just how wooded the area was. And just within about a month, the area had been cleared, and we started kind of establishing some of the access roads around the project, as well as stockpiling several of the debris that we had cleared from the project. One of the items that had been mentioned in one of the previous meetings was that no burning would be going on site. And so all this debris that you see here stockpiled actually was removed off site to trash and removal areas off site. By a few months later in March, kind of skipping ahead more into when we started establishing the casting beds and foundations and slab on grades, which you can see here in a very flat perspective, but what's a little bit difficult to see from this far away is just all the walls being formed on these casting beds, which are basically just concrete floors that are established just to pour these walls that get all erected. And you'll see here in a few minutes just how quickly that occurs. You can also see here on the west side of the project the kind of construction and laydown areas with the main offices and construction offices for the project. By April, we had, actually it was the end of March, but by April, you can see in the aerial, some of the walls being lifted up into place. And we had started with the classroom building, as that was one of the more, we had deemed that one of the more complicated structures and buildings, and the most square footage that we had to deal with on the project. So we definitely started with that area first. By this next slide, you're going to see just within 1 month approximately, just about all the walls and a lot of the structure had already been tied together. You'll see in some more detailed pictures in a minute some of the structural steel that tied everything together, but here you can just see barely over at the auditorium and music building, some of that steel going in place. And what you see here, whether it be here at the dining area or the classroom buildings, is a lot of the roofs already being sealed up and completed just within a couple months of when we started erecting the first walls of the project. Jumping over to August, which this is just about a week ago, all the roofs have, with the exception of the auditorium, have been dried in with the roofing membrane that gets applied over the metal decking and lightweight concrete on the roof. The few buildings that kind of remain unfinished are just some of the auxiliary buildings for the football stadium, locker rooms and concessions out there. Same thing with the softball area. We had also, at this point, also started some of the site lighting, which are some of these large poles that you see installed. And we've definitely, at this point, transitioned into a lot of the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing work within the building, and even some of the drywall and finishes at some of the high priority rooms, such as the electrical rooms, the systems rooms, and mechanical rooms as well. So as I get kind of digging deeper into some of the pictures and photographs that we've taken during the project here, as I mentioned, some of that those flat floors that needed to be poured so that we could form up the walls and then erect them afterwards and quickly. You can see this all being kind of set in place with all the reinforcement and the waterproofing beneath it. We did a lot of the concrete pours at night in very early mornings to this kind of limits any issues that we may have with concrete not arriving to the project on time, as well as just curing times in the hot Florida weather that we have. So as mentioned, by the end of March, we had on site had our 300-ton crawler train arrive and start erecting the walls for the project. This one you see here on the right is actually the classroom building, which, as I mentioned previously, we had started first. And here, just some structural steel pictures of everything being tied together, all those walls being secured in place and held in place first by some shoring, which is some of these diagonal poles that you see here, until the structure is completely in place and signed off by the engineers of records and material testing people. And then we are allowed to remove some of this shoring. Just some site pictures as well, because as the structure is going on, we do have our site work subcontractor also installing all of the underground throughout the project that collects all the storm, as well as brings water and electricity to the project. Here on the right is just some kind of a detailed view of the roofing joists all being installed. This was over at the auditorium and music suite. A little bit deeper look inside the buildings, but here just some pours for one of the lightweight concrete that goes on the roofing, as well as the more structural concrete that gets installed on the floors. And then finally, a couple detailed pictures. One of the exterior that you should start seeing kind of mimicking and matching the renderings that you saw earlier during David's portion of the presentation, as well as the mechanical, electrical, here some ductwork being installed, as well as all the hangers that put it into place before we start completing our ceilings. Just some other little details that weren't mentioned in any of the slides. At this point, we've also brought in our chillers for the mechanical or for the HVAC and air conditioning, and all that's scheduled to start here within the next few months. We expect to have cold air blowing just before November to start moving forward with some of the finishes in the building as well. And lastly, I'll just leave off with probably the third reiteration that we are currently on schedule to, again, open up for the summer of 2021.
Okay, thank you so much. So this is Lauren Roth again. I just wanted to introduce a few more people who came into the meeting. Dr. Border, the Chief of High Schools, is on. Our Chief Facilities Officer, John Morris, is here. Adam Zubritsky is here from OCPS Transportation. Norm Enval is here from OCPS Police. Christina Pichardo Cruz is here from Orange County Traffic. And Carol McGowan is here from Student Enrollment. And I would like to start with Carol because we did get a lot of questions that were related to the zoning of the school. So Carol, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Freddie, can you go back to that rezoning slide near the beginning, please, so that Carol can go over that process? Thank you.
And good evening, everyone. As they go back to the slide, we postponed this rezoning during our lockdown that we had in the spring. We are going to pick up the rezoning again here right at the Labor Day area. We will host another community meeting for anyone who missed the first one. We will then have the rural development workshop, which is your chance to speak to the board, and that's scheduled for September. And then we'll hold our public hearing in October, which is the time that the school board votes on the zones. All of this is posted on ocps.net. Scroll down in the middle of the page and you'll see enrollment. Click on that. And then on the left side, you'll see school rezonings. We have the PowerPoint that we showed in the spring with all the options. And that is what we will go through at our community meeting and answer any of your questions. The community meeting is your opportunity to meet with staff and let us talk with you and answer anything. The 2 times that you can speak to the board is the rural development and the public hearing. We ask for you to give us any of your thoughts and input. We'll have that set up on our website, and you can say you love the rezoning, hate the rezoning, as long as we're nice. And then everything is shown to the board members. They get everything that is provided. I did see a couple of questions about ninth grade or seniors. All our high schools open with grades 9, 10, and 11 only. All students who will be a senior in the year 21-22 will remain at their current high school and graduate with their buddies there. If you're a 9th, 10th, or an 11th grader, the expectation is that you will go to the new school. There are always some exceptions to that, and we have a few transfers that can help us with individual situations with families. And I saw a question about magnets and different courses of study, and those decisions I do not think have been made as of this moment, but Mr. Swenson and Dr. Border are your experts on that. But we look forward to working with you as we go through the rezoning, and we will send out a Connect Orange message to all families that could be involved so that you'll have the exact date. And you can always call our office, and we're glad to answer any questions. And I think Lauren probably has my phone number or something up here for you. So please feel free to call, and we'll try to answer any questions you have that we didn't take care of this evening. So thank you again.
Carol, I will put your phone number into the chat so that everybody has it.
Okay.
And I do want to remind people we're getting some questions put in the chat. Please put them in the Q&A so that all of the panelists can see them, because that's where I'm going to be reading questions from.
And if the student is currently in the magnet program at Dr. Phillips, that is not taken away. Your student could continue in the magnet program at your discretion. If you decided that you wanted to go to the new school, you would give up your magnet seat.
Okay, and one thing that Principal Swenson mentioned is that the new school will have Project Lead the Way. Guy, do you want to can you talk about that a little more? You might have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, Project Lead the Way, it's a program that every high school really has, and I was just addressing that one question about a medical academy because that's what Dr. Phillips has. But we are still working on what programs and special programs that we are offering. That's what we're spending our planning year doing. And people just, if they stay in touch with social media, I'll be able to inform them when those decisions are made.
Thank you. Adam, we have a question about transportation. The question is, how will school bus transportation work given the far distance to get to the school for those living in the vista of Hunters Creek? Adam, can you talk about how the transportation will work and what will happen when in this process, please? You'll have to unmute yourself, Adam.
Okay, so you're going to be eligible for a bus if where you're residing is more than 2 miles walking distance from the school. So depending on how it's all set up, where you're living, if you're more than 2 miles walking distance, then you're going to be eligible for it.
And when do those maps get put together, Adam?
That'll be in the summer prior to opening the school.
Okay. So at this point, we can't tell people if they'll have a bus or not. Is that correct?
No, but you kind of would know, you know, if you're living 5 miles away or you're living 3 miles away, you can pretty much be sure you're going to get a bus just because it's going to be pretty obvious. The ones that may not know would be the ones that are pretty close to that 2 mile cutoff, and that 2 mile cutoff would be measured based on the shortest walking route, whether or not it's available to traffic, using the nearest pedestrian entrance to a school building to the point at which private property meets public right of way at the residence. So if it's an apartment complex, it's going to be measured to the nearest entrance of that complex.
Thank you, Adam.
It won't necessarily go to the apartment buildings themselves.
That's a big help. Thank you.
Okay.
There was a question whether there's a swimming pool. No, the school does not include a swimming pool. That's not in this design. So the rest of the high schools of this prototype don't have that. Jay, there's a question about buses coming in from Apopka Vineland, a U-turn. Can you please talk about that? Freddie, I think we're going to need the site plan. Yeah, this one. And Jay, if you could unmute yourself and maybe let Freddie know where the pointer needs to go so you can explain this, please.
Sure, I'm here. And Adam may want to jump in here too, but the idea is, as David mentioned, this is a right in, right out going into the bus loop. So the buses will have to be coming from Palm Parkway or that direction, going what would be called westbound down Darrell Carter Parkway to be able to turn into the bus loop. And then, of course, when they leave, they'll continue going westbound over to Apopka Vineland when they're exiting from the campus. Once they get to Apopka Vineland, they can go either north or south. Again, I'll let I see Adam nodding his head, so he may want to talk to this, but there is the option of going north or south. And there are roads both to the north or the south that they can then turn back to the east and go back in that direction if they need to. The discussion that we've had up till now has never been having buses doing U-turns. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure they insist that they don't do U-turns. Again, Adam is nodding his head. So, Adam, you want to add to that?
No, that's well stated. No, we're not going to have the buses do U-turns. They are, like he said, they're going to have to enter from the direction coming from
Palm Parkway.
Palm Parkway, yeah, Turkey Lake, Palm Parkway, same road. And then they're going to have to exit over to Apopka Vineland, and the routing is going to have to be set up to accommodate that. The routes and the times for the stops in the morning and the stops in the afternoon, it's just going to have to be set up that way.
On the map that you're looking at right now, Lauren, the road that's identified as Turkey Lake Road, that's Palm Parkway, which is over to the right.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Hopefully that answers that question. There's a question from the cross-country coach asking about the possibility of having a 5K course on grass and sand around the property. Interesting. Jay, is that something that you can comment on, whether that would be possible? Is that something that would happen now or after the school opens, or?
For the access to the north?
All the way, it sounds like he's asking about having one around the property.
Lauren, this is Dave Torbert. Kind of like the swimming pool, none of the previous high school prototypes have been designed to have that cross-country course as a part of the design. Now, that doesn't necessarily preclude the school from going and implementing something after the fact, but it's never been a part of OCPS's standards to include a 5K path or track, if you will, on the high school sites.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Guy, can you comment on the PT?
Lauren,
sorry.
before you move on.
Yeah, sure, Pam.
There is a park behind that also connects. There's some common bike area that goes to Sand Lake Park. So there may be kind of a built-in between the county and our facilities, a path to have those kind of runs.
And that actually ties into a question somebody else asked about the connection with the park.
Freddie, if you would go back to that other site plan. Yeah, if you all see from right there at where the stadium seating is going north is a walkway, an additional sidewalk that goes to that north property line. So that provides the ability for a pedestrian access, if you will, to that park to the north, at least from the high school site.
Great, thank you. That's helpful. Guy, could you speak to the PTSA, PTO, and SAC? Somebody asked about that, and I'm sure everyone would like to hear that.
Yes, absolutely. I'm very excited to get started with PTSO, PTSA, and SAC. So anyone that is interested, please contact me directly. In the Q&A, I put my email address that people can contact me, and we can get started with that as soon as possible.
Lauren, you're muted.
Lauren, you're muted.
Thank you. I was just saying that I put in the chat a link to the high school's temporary website, and there's a link to social media there. Sorry, I just want to make sure everybody was able to hear that. Okay. Scroll down to the next question. Okay, I think we answered the rezoning question, that the rezoning is currently ongoing. The next meeting will be in September. There'll be notifications by Connect Orange. I will put Carol McGowan's phone number in the chat. Okay, we talked about I think the path that gives access to Sand Lake Elementary, is that the same one you were talking about, Dave, that goes through the park? I just want to make sure we covered that.
Yeah, I believe that it is, yes.
Okay. There was a question about, has COVID impacted the design of the school? And what I can tell you about that is that COVID has impacted the design of all of our schools in certain ways. It's not one school in particular. We're looking at things that can be done across schools in the long term that might be good ideas anyway. For example, at some high schools, you may have seen bathrooms where you can go around the corner, go into the bathroom instead of touching a door. So we're looking at whether that might be something that can be incorporated into future designs. We're also working on trying to reduce the touch points in places like the bathrooms and have touchless sinks to try to reduce the number of things that have to be cleaned over and over and over in the bathrooms during the day. Also, all schools are being outfitted with plexiglass in the main office, and all schools do have a single secured entrance. Those are things that we were doing anyway. The plexiglass will be new. I don't know if anyone else wants to add on that, but if you do, hop on in. And I know that Carol has to hop off and Pam has to hop off too. So I want to thank them both for coming. There's a question about security cameras. The school design does include a full package of security cameras throughout the buildings and on the exterior of the campus. The zoning maps, those are on the OCPS website under school rezonings. I think we've talked about the grandfather transfers. There was a question about when will the road off of Popka Vineland be expected to be finished to get to the high school. The answer is that the schedule for Darrell Carter Parkway is to complete a portion from Palm Parkway to the school entrance by September of this year. Yeah, Freddie, if you could show where that is, that would be super helpful. So the portion from Palm Parkway to the school entrance by September. The remaining section will be connecting to Apopka Vineland is slated to be complete by the summer of 2021. I think, Freddie, we need kind of toward the beginning, the site plan, unless you had a different slide in mind, but yeah, if you could show that. There's a question about the deep storm drainage. Where is it going? There is a wet retention pond being constructed as part of the project. It is located in the northeast corner of the property. And Freddie, when you get to the slide that you're looking for, just pop in.
Yeah, I just wanted to show just how far along they are. They've actually already poured quite a bit of asphalt on that road and started some of the medians, the sidewalks. Traffic signal is just underway as well. So this is that connector road, and its level of completion at this point.
Great, that's neat that you can see that.
So basically, it's that portion of the road that's going to be that's scheduled to be completed. Basically, what you can see in that image is the portion of the road that's going to be completed by September.
Thank you, David. Just back to the drainage. There was a further answer to that. That the storm piping, the storm water is all going to one of two dry retention ponds on the site, and any discharge from the site will be at the northeast corner. There's a question whether there will be an entrance off of Apopka Vineland. There are no direct entrances to the high school from Apopka Vineland. The only access is from Darrell Carter Parkway. Okay.
Well,
Another question.
Darrell Carter Parkway will connect to Apopka Vineland by the opening of school. So technically, there will be access. You'll come from Apopka Vineland down Darrell Carter, and then you can access the school that way.
Thank you, Richard.
It's a left turn in at the light that Jay explained earlier.
Gotcha. Okay. And there's another question about storm drainage, whether it'll be going into the residential area, and the answer was that the discharge from the high school will drain to Big Sand Lake eventually. Okay. There's a question about whether the public will have a say in the zoning. Again, yes, the zoning is going on right now. You can actually go on to the OCPS website and look at the school rezonings, and there's a place where you can click, give your feedback to the two maps that have been posted. There will be a hearing about that specific issue by the Student Enrollment Department in September. This one's going to be for you again, Guy. There's a question about computer concentration.
Yes, while we're still discussing curriculum options, we will have a full slate of computer education at the new school.
Thank you very much. There was a question about whether there'll be a light at the, I believe it's at Darrell Carter and Apopka Vineland. It said the new road, so I assume that's what the question is. And yes, there will be a light at Darrell Carter and Apopka Vineland. Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Freddie, for showing that. Was there someone else who wanted to weigh in on that from the panel? There was a follow-up question on that maybe Jay, you can help with, wanting to know how many directions it'll be signalized in.
Yeah, in terms of the actual design of the intersection at Apopka Vineland and Darrell Carter, I don't have that specific detail in mind, but typically you'd have, a typical setup where the north-south lanes are going to have a function, and then you'll have the intersection from Darrell Carter coming in. To my knowledge, there's nothing extending it further to the west, if that's one of the questions.
I believe Christina Pichardo Cruz is on. Christina, are you able to unmute yourself, or let me see if I can unmute you? Okay, I just tried to unmute you, Christina. Can you try to talk? Not hearing you, Christina. So if you want to just...
This is Diana.
Oh, Diana, you're on.
With Orange County.
Great, Diana, could you take that one?
At this time, it's just going to be a three-leg intersection with a signalization package, as well as all the appropriate turn lanes. But in the future, it could be extended to a fourth leg if the western side of the property or that you have west of Apopka Vineland Road gets redeveloped. So there's always the potential for it becoming a four-leg intersection, but at this time it's only a three-leg intersection.
Thank you so much. That's super helpful. And I'm sorry I didn't introduce you earlier. So you're the Director of Planning, right? Is that the correct title for you?
I'm the Deputy Director of Public Works.
Deputy Director of Public Works with the county. So she knows all this stuff. There is a question about the middle school nearby. I think that would be site 65. If anyone can double check me on that, but I think that is site 65, which would be opening in 2023.
Lauren, this is Stephen.
Hi, Stephen.
So that is actually site 45?
Oh,
48. This is Jasmine, site 48.
48.
48, I'm sorry, site 48. And that has a tentative opening right now of 2028.
Thank you guys so much. Okay. And that's out on Apopka Vineland, is that right?
Correct. That's on the corner of Apopka Vineland and Buena Vista Woods Boulevard.
Is that a little north of where we're looking?
West of the high school.
Okay. So 2028 is the current year for that. We do have 2 middle schools coming up in this area in 2022 and 2023, but neither of them are that one then.
And Lauren, this is Jasmine. They won't affect this area, those 2 schools you just mentioned.
They're just further west enough. They won't affect.
Yes, they're for the Horizon West area.
Okay. And Jessica Lambert is the head of our advanced planning committee. And I'm sorry I didn't see that you had hopped on. So thank you so much. Now there's a question about when jobs will be listed. And Guy responded that most of the hiring will take place in the spring. And please to check the OCPS website for job postings. Okay, can we explain why zoning takes place after the school is built? Yes, absolutely. That's a great question. The reason zoning is done later is because building a high school from planning to design to construction is a 5-year process. And if we zoned a high school before we built it, there'd be a lot of changes to the residential area before the school opened. We want to zone it as late as possible before the school opens so that housing that's being built at the very end there is accounted for. So that's so the later the better is essentially the idea. So there's a question about the slide with the map. Yes, these slides are actually already posted. They're posted at facilities.ocps.net. And it's also posted on the websites of board member Linda Cobert and board member Pam Gould. So if you go to the OCPS website, click school board member, and then either of their names, you'll find it there also. So feel free to watch it again. Okay, so there's a question about the history, the Vineland settlement history. Guy posted a link. I will also copy that into the chat, but there's a Wikipedia page about it if you look up Vineland, Florida. Okay, there are more questions about zoning. I think that those will all be answered at the September hearing, or you can reach out to Carol McGowan and get answers to your specific question. Okay, and so if you have specific questions about, the zoning process, she'll be your person, and there will be a meeting specifically on that topic. And she'll be happy to talk to you about those things. Okay. When will office positions be listed? I believe that would be the spring. Guy, if there's any difference for office positions, please cut in. There's a question about whether that there are 2 options for the zoning. Those are the 2 options that had been put together so far. Yes. and that's what they're soliciting comments on. How much traffic impact on Apopka Vineland with the school and the new Darrell Carter Parkway? Diana, do you have a feel on that yet? They're asking what the traffic impact will be on Apopka Vineland once Darrell Carter Parkway opens and the school opens. Diana, you're still muted. Okay. Diana, are you on?
Yes, I'm on.
Okay, great.
What was the question again?
The question was about the traffic impact on Apopka Vineland. They're asking what the impact will be of the school and the opening of Darrell Carter Parkway. How much additional traffic will Apopka Vineland get? Is that something we know at this point?
Well, I mean, there was a traffic study conducted with the projected traffic and how the traffic is going to be distributed in this area. I don't have those. We have a traffic study that is available for anyone that would like to review it. I don't have those numbers with me right now, but I can make them available.
Okay, and unless Jay, if you happen to have that with you, pipe up.
Yeah, that would be something that the county would need to provide.
Okay. There's a question about busing. If depending on which direction a student is coming from, where would the buses go? The answer is that the primary option north of Darrell Carter Parkway will be accessed via Sand Lake Road. The options to the south of Darrell Carter Parkway will be Lake Street or Palm Parkway. And there's a question about how the classroom building will be set up, whether it's by grade levels. And Principal Swenson did mention that all grade levels will be throughout the building. There's no plan to separate by grade levels. So it would depend on what classes that student was taking. There's a question about where's the closest walking entrance to Apopka Vineland. Walkers coming in from Apopka Vineland would enter the site just to the east of the bus loop entrance. So if we could get a version that shows that, Freddie, the walkers will be coming in just to the east of the bus loop entrance. Okay. All right. There's a question about the area behind the school. The area to the north of the school site is the Dr. Phillips Park. If that's not what the question was referring to, please chime in again, but the Dr. Phillips Community Park is immediately to the north. There's a question that got a little garbled. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Lauren. There is a development just north of the school, also coming in, a residential development that will be, possibly commencing construction in the next year or so. Okay, but it's going through Orange County's reviews and process, and once it gets approval by the Board of County Commissioners, then the subdivision will commence construction. West of the school, there's also another development that is more so a mixed use with some commercial and some office uses, and that's includes Fenton Road, the old Fenton Road that was vacated and now belongs to a private developer.
Thank you so much. Okay, there's a question again about the zoning, that there are two options. Would they be up for debate? Yes, they're taking public comment on the options. The zoning for juniors and seniors. Seniors will stay at their existing school because the new high school is opening up for grades 9 to 11. If a student is zoned in to the new high school, if they did not want to attend, there are potentially zoning transfer options like Carol was talking about, that, if a child is in a magnet program, for example, that is a reason for a transfer. So there's an additional question about the bus loop right in and out. Jay, can you talk about The access, this is the question about why not we're exiting via the Unicorp project and double left stacking and curb cut. Can you please explain that whole issue and what's going on with that?
Sure. So as part of the lengthy debate that we had between Public Works and Orange County Schools, what ended up occurring is we have what is called a dual left turn going into the main entrance from the west, coming into the main entrance of the school. And as you can see on the graphic that's on there now, that geometry still extends just past where the bus loop is, just to be able to get the turn lanes in a dual lane configuration. All of that was based off of the traffic study analysis that Diana just mentioned earlier. And so that's one reason why we don't have a median opening at that particular location. As far as the coordination with Unicorp to the west, as far as I know anyway, they're not in a place to even have that discussion to talk about an access coming from the west at this stage. Stephen may know more than I do, but that's the last that I had heard, is we're not in a place to have that conversation yet.
Okay, that's correct. The only thing that we're getting from them is a pedestrian connection for any students that are coming from their project. But that's limited to students only.
Okay. There's a question, how is this school going to relieve the congestion for Freedom High School? It'll relieve the congestion because a number of students who are currently zoned for Freedom High School will be zoned for this school. So there will be fewer students at Freedom High School. Same thing for Dr. Phillips. Question, how much time do you expect a student to travel for school? That's not a set number as far as I've ever been aware. Since we are building a new high school, for many of these students, they will hopefully be traveling less distance than they are traveling now, since we're alleviating 2 high schools. You know, as you can see on this map, we've got Dr. Phillips, you know, up at the top of the screen, Freedom High School to the right, and the new high school, you know, you can see in the bottom left there. And so the idea is to have students who are now driving, you know, a relatively long distance to their schools would get to go to someplace closer to their homes. There's a question, why weren't more resources allocated to Freedom High School? I'm not quite sure what that question means. Funds do travel with a student, but Freedom and Dr. Phillips are both very overcrowded, and so we're building a new school to accommodate those students. OCPS doesn't like to have schools operating well over their capacity. It's a strain on the school, and it also means, you know, that all those students are packed into a campus that's meant for fewer students. I think there's a question again about computer classes, and Principal Swenson said that there will be AP computer science and other computer programming classes. Is the high school sharing any facilities with Dr. Phillips Community Park? Is there someone who can weigh in on that? I don't know if that would be you, Jay, or David.
To my knowledge, I mean, unless the school district is entered into some other kind of agreement, that to my knowledge, no, there's no sharing of facilities between the park and the school.
Stephen, are you aware of anything on that?
Yeah, Lauren, again, this is Stephen Thorpe. So we're currently working with the county to build a joint use park on our future site 48, which is the middle school nearby. So that'll house 4 ball fields that'll be used by both the community as well as the school. But as far as joint use of facilities on the high school site, we don't have a plan in place for that. While the Dr. Phillips Park is close by, so there's the ability for students to go there directly instead of a joint use with the high school.
Okay, thank you. Diana, I think this next question will be one for you. What will be built between the high school and Apopka Vineland? Residential, commercial? That's the question. I think you addressed part of this before.
Yeah. It's mixed use. It will have residential next to the school. However, when you move towards Apopka Vineland Road, there will be a combination commercial. It could be office. When you have mixed uses, you have different uses that you can accommodate. But as you get closer to Apopka Vineland is where you're going to see on the north and on the south side of Darrell Carter the more intense commercial and office uses. North of the high school and just right west of the high school, you will see more residential uses. To the south, you have to the south of the school on Darrell Carter, in the corner of Palm Parkway, which is called here on your screen Turkey Lake, and Darrell Carter, you will have Advent Health is putting a medical facility on the south side of Darrell Carter, and there'll be also a mixed use along the north side, which again, when you get close to the Palm Parkway facility, you will see more of a commercial use and office and more intense, and then they will mix it with residential, multifamily, and so on.
Wonderful. Thank you for describing all of that. I do want to let everybody know that I have just put Carol McGowan's contact information in the chat, since there do seem to be quite a few of rezoning questions, which, you know, hopefully I'm trying to answer as many of those as I can, but that's really not what we're here for. We're really here qualified to talk about the construction of the school. So if you do have questions about the zoning, please do get with Carol. Okay, I think we already answered the question about traffic on Apopka Vineland. Just Jay, I think, mentioned that we coordinated with the county on that. Is the meeting being recorded? Yes, the meeting is being recorded. And at the end, the WebEx system will save it and send it to me. And what I'll do is, after I receive it, I'll upload it on YouTube. Then everyone who either attended this meeting or signed up and was not able to attend will be emailed with a link. So if you were only able to attend part of the meeting, you can go back and see whatever you missed, or just watch it again. Okay. So again, another question about grandfather transfers. Please do get with Carol McGowan if you're interested in transferring your student. There's a concern about how far some students would have to travel. Again, please do share that feedback with Carol McGowan, because the zoning of the school is not complete, and that's why they're taking feedback. So if there's a neighborhood that's not pleased with the zoning option, this is definitely the time to let student enrollment know that. There's a comment that is just lovely, thanking everyone for being here and for doing this in a virtual format. And Diana, I think this question is going to be for you. Someone's asking about the Publix someone else referred to, where that is, and I'm not familiar. So is there somebody, Diana, could you explain that?
I'm trying to find out where exactly that Publix will be. I know there is one planned in the commercial. I believe it is closer to the Apopka Vineland Darrell Carter intersection, but I am trying to find out if I have the drawing to show here online. So I'm almost positive in that respect that it's going to be close to Apopka Vineland and Darrell Carter intersection.
Okay, thank you. And someone did just write in. Whoa, that is loud. I'm very sorry about that. Okay, so there was a question about, I think that this is one that you did answer, Diana. They were just clarifying that they were interested in the area between Daryl Carter and Fenton, that's residential, correct? Am I remembering correctly? That's what you said? Oh, Diana, we can't hear you.
Sorry, I was on mute. North of Fenton is all residential. Okay, north of Fenton and north of the high school, that's all going to be residential. So the kids are going to have the ability to get to the school, to walk to the school. Now, when you go a little bit further to the west, fronting Apopka Vineland Road, north of Fenton and south of Fenton, that's where the commercial is going to come in. And
Okay.
And the Publix and strip mall or you know, retail, that's where that intense use is going to come in. But right north of the school and west to a certain point, you will have residential uses.
Thank you so much for clarifying that. Okay, and Jay or Stephen, there's a question again about the timing of Daryl Carter, when it'll be complete between Apopka, Vineland, and Turkey Lake. Or Diana, I don't know who wants.
There were certain commitments made to the school board on having their lanes open to the school and the utilities. Those, we are all on target. And the construction of Daryl Carter, it is all on schedule, just as we had agreed upon. Last I checked, everything is going on schedule. So Jay, you mentioned earlier that it was according to your coordination with Orange County, it was going to be open in 2021, summer of 2021. Was that, Jay, was that what you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, that was for the remaining section getting to Apopka Vineland. That's
Right.
what I understood anyway. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think we've covered all the questions that were asked. I did put my email address in the chat, lauren.roth@ocps.net, if anything comes up. Diana, where should people, if there are a couple of people who are interested in that traffic study, how can they reach out to see that study? What would be a good way for them to follow up on that?
There's the traffic engineering, I think, through Cristina Pichardo Cruz. She can get that information to the school board, and you can facilitate that information to anybody that is interested in that information. So Christina is listening. She can't speak for some reason. She's not being able to be heard, but she's in the call, and I will be sending her an email anyway as a reminder. Okay, do you want, Lauren, do you want to receive that information so that she can facilitate
Yes,
that?
please.
Okay.
Yes, please. Yeah, there are some people just saying that they're concerned about the amount of traffic, not just from the school, but the commercial and mixed use. So yes, if Christina could send it to me, if you're on this call and you would like a copy of that traffic study, just email me at lauren.roth@ocps.net, and I'll connect you to the study. Just that way it's only one email that you have to pay attention to. And if you do have any questions about rezoning, transfers, that goes to student enrollment, email carol.mcgowan@ocps.net. I've put her email address into the chat. Linda, are you still on? Because if you are, I wanted to see if there are any closing remarks you wanted to make. I know Pam had to go.
I'm here, Lauren. Thank you. I just want to thank you, everyone, for attending. This is going to be a great community school based on the attendance that we've had at all of our community meetings. Bodes well for us. We're very excited about what's coming up, the naming of the school, the mascots, all of that's going to come from the community. So don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions at all. Contact your new principal, Guy Swenson. And of course, Lauren is phenomenal about getting you all the information that you need. And if we don't have the answers, we'll find them for you. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to all the panelists for being here and being available to the community as well. Great job, Lauren.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much to everybody for coming. I can see that you have my email address because some questions are already coming in on my email, which is great. So once I have the traffic study from Christina, I'd be happy to share that out. And watch out for a link to the video to the meeting so you can go back and watch it again if you'd like. So thank you so much to everybody. Can't wait to see this school open. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.